Ladies and gentlemen, I watched a video by one of our brother Ambazonian, a very passionate Ambazonian, very enthusiastic about Ambazonia. But I really want to take this opportunity to respond to him as a brother who is in the fight with him, who is in the struggle with him, and wants us to win, just as he wants to win. I'm sure he wants us to win, no doubt about that. But, there will be a process by which we win. We can't just win by doing anything we do in the name of the struggle. There are very specific things that we need to do to win. And whatever we do, it must be based on the truth, on the reality that we face. So we must gather enough information. We must analyze that information. And then, after all that, we'll gain wisdom from that information. And then, through that wisdom, we'll make decisions that will make us win. As you're gathering that information, it should not be guided by fear. It should not be guided by relationships with other people. It should be cold, factual information that's gathered and coldly analyzed to gain wisdom. Be ready to correct your brother, your mother, your father. We all need to focus on the truth, because that's what is going to save us. And I'm saying this because I listened to this video that was shot by Mr. Sikot. He did it very passionately. I'm sure he believed everything he was doing. But my brother, when I listen to you, I think totally differently.
Two things you must do to achieve independence. One thing you must avoid in order not to fail from what you seek: independence of the people of Southern Cameroon. My name is Sikot, and today is the 28th of June 2022. And before I give you this message, I want to go on my knees. Let this message go especially to the leaders of the Southern Cameroon people. From Cristiano, Mariata, Sako, Akwanga, Ayaba, Akuru, Honorable Wiba, every other leader, Scarf, Bohebed, and the Ambazonia people at large. If you have never ever listened to me, listen to what I'm telling you today. We are not in a very good state of this revolution. We are failing, and we will fail, and the revolution will end totally in the next 6 months if we do not stand up. But if we are to rise, please hear me on my knees. I beg you, my people. I beg you. We are failing. But there are ways we can come up. Let me tell you. My people, the one and only true way, or the first way, is that let every Ambazonian leader come together for collaboration. Because individually they are weak. All these leaders I have called cannot take us to independence. They do not even have the finance to take us to independence. They don't have the funding, they don't have the following, and the struggle is so divided presently, such that we cannot achieve independence by this type of division. So come together, and I bet you one thing. If these people come together in a collaborative platform, I give you 4 months, you will see sponsors coming in. We cannot win a war through normal contributions as offerings, and in divided factions, we will not win.
All right, everybody knows who this individual is. He's Mr. Sikot, a very strong Ambazonian, very active. And like I said, he's one of us in the trenches. But Mr. Sikor, we need to win this fight. We're not going to win it because I love you or because you love me. We're not going to win it by singing Kumbaya together. We're going to win it by doing the right thing, and we'll do the right thing by examining the information, giving it critical analysis, cold analysis, and making decisions that move us from where we are, because where we are is very rotten. And we're in the hands of barbarians. We're in the hands of barbarians. So this fight that we are in is a fight of our lives. And so let's open ourselves up to be questioned. Let's question ourselves. Let's examine our thoughts. Let's challenge each other to be better, because by doing that, we're going to save ourselves. So you said a few things on this video that we just watched, and I want to take a difference to some of them. Two things. Here's what you said: 2 things to do to achieve independence, and 1 thing we must avoid in order to not fail. Now, what is very stunning is that you started by saying that our leaders have to come together. And the people you call our leaders stun me. My brother, we are in 2022. We are not in 20. I'm going to give it a slack. We're not in 2017. We're not in 2018. We're not in 2019. We're not in 2020. We're not in 2021. I have counted 5 years. And within this 5 years, the revolution has gone back worse than where we started. And it is the result of the performance of these people that you call leaders. When are you going to change your mind, my brother, that they failed? When? What else do they need to do before you know that they have failed? And what makes them leaders? Most of them are self-appointed. Apart from Sako, who was handed a whole credible, solid infrastructure by Ayok Tabe, and he sank it. Every other person that you mentioned on that list was self-appointed. I'm so sorry, and I have to apologize for Honorable Joseph Wiba that you mentioned his name among these fraudsters. Otherwise, what makes you call them our leaders? And what makes you think that they can come together? I'm not even talking about coming together and failing. Let me tell you, somebody just called me after the Saturday town hall meeting. I think Saturday the 17th of September 2022. What the person called me and told me was that that Dr. Niba Fontem on that show, I haven't gone to watch it yet, I intend to watch it. He said Dr. Niba Fontem said that the reason why these factions stayed the way they did was because La Republique played a trick on them. They called Chuayaba and told him, you're the one we're going to negotiate with, but don't tell anybody. Called Sako and told him, you're the one we're going to negotiate with, but don't tell anybody. Maybe they even called Bo Herbert and all those other people, who knows. So this collaborative platform you're talking about, these are not people who my brother, look, I'm tired of that. My brain just goes weak when you mention all those names. I looked at you, I'm like, come on, you one of the people that some people are looking up to. Don't be taking them behind. Don't be taking them backwards. I think that's what is going to kill the struggle more than what you're saying. Because contrary to what you're saying, this struggle has survived people like that. They have survived all those names you called. They've survived the burning of hundreds of villages. We've survived putting over 50,000 of our people as refugees in Nigeria. Even more in Cameroon. And a lot more in the wild. We've survived all of that. None of our people is buckling. They're all staying steady. So I don't know where you're coming from with this information that if we don't follow a beaten path that led us to nowhere, led us to the negative, we'll be done in 6 months. No, we are very resilient. Listen to this prediction.
Traditional independence struggle in that part of the world over the last, if we look at the case of South Sudan, if we look at the case of Eritrea, even the case of Somaliland, which is de facto independent, it takes some time.
Yes.
So we should be aware of that, and it's just getting started.
Yes.
If the struggle started at midnight and the dawn of the struggle is at 6 a.m., we're 5 minutes past midnight. So we have a long way to go.
But I think that there's some good results in that 5 minutes.
Yes.
Let me just ask you another general question. How do you feel about the struggle right now, where we are?
As I said, if the dawn is at 6 a.m. and the struggle started at midnight, we're 5 minutes after midnight. So the struggle is in a good place, given that we're just 5 minutes after midnight. I think what we have been able to accomplish, or what the Ambazonian people have been able to accomplish in these five minutes, is we've given the Ambazonian people, or the Ambazonian people now have the information, the education to form a generational ideology for resistance and for independence that will never ever be taken away. They have an identity now. They are Ambazonians.
Now, Terence said this 3 years ago, that we're only 5 minutes into the struggle. Because this is a long struggle. People have mentioned Southern Sudan as one of the countries that made it. It took them 30 years. We're fighting a battle for our survival. Even if it takes 50 years, we will fight it. So don't be predicting 6 months. We have been wonderfully resilient. The people who are struggling to see this thing end now are the people who are causing genocide. They have committed every crime in our territory, and they want it to end. They have France that's protecting them. They work for the French. The French are protecting them. So what are we going to do? No, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. Because we have no option. It's like the Taliban. The Taliban could have slugged it for another 20, 30 years in the jungles, in the mountains, because they have no other option but be there. And so while people were blaming President Biden for cutting and what else was there? It's not the guns, it's not the amount of guns, the amount of planes, the amount of what La République has. La République goes into our territory now, and our freedom fighters are there, they're causing damage on them, but they can't find them. And so they've been shooting children, they've been doing all kinds of, they've burned hospitals, they've done all kinds of atrocities. They want it to end so they can run out. But we are going to win. And so don't, my brother, you have more wisdom than you express on that tape. Alarms are not going to be what free us, but careful, cool analysis. Have allegiance to the struggle and to the struggle alone. And we'll win. And these people you called are not our leaders. Listen to who our leaders are.
You see, diaspora leadership, it don't draw us back too much. If we had known, we would have given powers to the hands of the ground zero people by now. By now like this, we don't go very far. So at the beg now.
Diaspora leadership has drawn us back too much. If we would have known, we would have given power to the ground zero people by now. Grandma, it's not that we would have given power to them. We should not have taken their power, because that's what we did. We came in, promised a lot. They waited on us, and we produced idiots, middlemen, hungry little men who came and destroyed the diaspora and destroyed everything, stole the money like they've never seen before. Fell for Swiss talk because they can't think. Because that whole Swiss talk, before the Swiss come down, they're revealing themselves as La République that's revealing. Anybody who has common sense, because I mean, if you are now having an issue and somebody wants to come and see if they can bring us together to talk, they don't come and say, hey, you come, we will train you, and then you go and negotiate. The whole of that thing was not right. It was just done wrong. You did not need to be a rocket scientist to recognize that the whole thing was very unnatural and that there was a very big game going. In fact, people who knew the relationship between the Swiss and Paul Biya, you would not accept that the Swiss could even be honest brokers or could be fair judges. I mean, the thing has gone so badly that even Ground Zero knows that.
Ground Zero fighters and the civilians and they don't take control over the struggle from the diaspora. Ground Zero leadership, it's not been a leadership where we fight or we're supposed to fight the diaspora, but rather we call them the diaspora and therefore know their task of liberation of this homeland. And what they're supposed to do or where they're supposed to stand. Now for diplomacy. For diplomacy, we may say there's need for the raise money for fund the fighters them for say make this war we can go for before. And again, we go need to advise them for the advisory for see how this war is also supposed for the move ahead from one stage to another.
That's Ground Zero speaking. The leadership of Ground Zero speaking. These are people of action. They are people living the evil on the ground. So they have no time to play games. They've moved on. And I really congratulate them for moving on. I'm just praying that they should all come together and continue gelling. I want to say something else about a thing they said that the role they're trying to prescribe for diaspora. Even diplomacy I don't think the diaspora should be playing diplomacy. The diaspora can... Here are two roles I have for the diaspora. The diaspora needs to support Ground Zero with money. They can look for friends for Ambazonia, but any diplomacy, once you've identified a friend, any other communication should be coming from Ground Zero or from people appointed by Ground Zero. And Ground Zero, before you appoint anybody, please vet them well. Mr. Augustine Ndangam, who is one of our leadership in this struggle, taught me in Kasbambili. And one of the things he taught that I've never forgotten is that in literature, there are three criteria you use to judge a character. What the character says, what the character does, and what other people say about the character. Please use this simple technique to identify people in the diaspora that you can work with, who represent you. They represent you. And like I advised on another tape, on another production, select the people who you want to work for you. Select the people who you want to represent you. Vet them. Make them swear their allegiances to you. Select the people that you want them helping you collect money in the West or in the diaspora. Form yourselves in a very solid organization with all its branches and all its discipline. Please, we're looking up to you. We're looking up to you. The only other thing I'm going to tell you is that there's a lot of resources in the diaspora, and that these people who have failed all of us, these are the Nkendes of the diaspora. Nkendes, you can see how they speak, you can see how they steal easily, and you can see how disorganized they are. Ramblers, bunglers, bungling around in our name. All of our name. Now the diaspora has to be rebuilt from the ground up. The diaspora now is worse than when Siseko came and made it. Because right now, we don't trust each other anymore. Because people gave their all. I don't know that we can ever get people to go back to where things were happening on the ground and Siseko showed up and spoke like the man. And we all showed up. But this fight is strong enough that if you lead us well and you continue to be as good, as tenacious as you have been, dedicated as you have been, courageous as you have been, we will follow. We'll follow. But it will be your leadership. And you have to be a strong leader. The ground has to be a strong leader. We have no option but you. Having said that, I just want to apologize to the audience of Esteemed Television that there's a document I read to you, I think maybe a week or two ago. No, like two or 3 weeks ago, actually. I read that letter. The letter was purported to have come from Ground Zero fighters. After the show was put up, I learned that that letter was not from them. And that is the type of impersonation that continues to happen in this struggle. And it kills, it erodes our credibility in each other and in our organizations. Because listening to the leadership, listening to this representative of Ground Zero, what I took issues with on that write-up, it would not be the case if Ground Zero had made that write up itself. So I really do apologize that was a misrepresentation by someone who may have heard something, I don't know. But Ground Zero said they didn't write that. And that when something like that starts happening, they will let us know. And I'll be happy to bring it back to you. I just want to go back to Mr. Sickott before I end this piece. That Mr. Sickott, this fight is in such a good place. We've learned so much in the short time we've been fighting that we can only do better going forward. Thieves are going to find it harder to steal again. In fact, they won't even have the chance, because if Ground Zero does its work well, if the organizations that are positioning themselves to be helpful in collecting support, and I'm saying this because we only have ourselves. We only have ourselves. There's no big brother. We don't have some France that's colonizing us to come and give us money to maintain the status quo. We don't. So we'll free ourselves by ourselves, and when we do, we'll be the freest people in the world, and we're going to build the economy that we want to build for ourselves. Because one of the reasons we are fighting is so that we can fulfill our dreams. Not only the dreams to make to create a better life for ourselves and our future generations, but also to defend ourselves so that people who are ambitious do not come and dream on our backs. I hope this sells past Sickott, because I just want us to keep our eyes on the prize, like the African American song that used to open the civil rights marches said. Keep your eye on the prize. If we keep our eyes on the prize, then we'll be able to correct each other when we think that, when we judge that we're not heading the right direction. Let's be each other's keeper. Thank you.